Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Bethel Baptist Institute. We're going to continue in our study on sight singing and ear training in our music program here. And as always, we're going to begin our class with a hymnology, and tonight's song is My Jesus, I Love Thee. It's difficult to realize that this beloved devotional hymn, which expresses so profoundly a believer's love and gratitude to Christ for what He has accomplished in redemption, was actually written by a teenager. The author, William Ralph Featherston, his last name was spelled Featherstone, was born on July the 23rd in 1846 in Montreal, Canada. He was the son of John and Mary Featherston. The family were members of the Wesleyan Methodist Church of Montreal. It is thought that young Featherston penned these words at the time of his conversion experience when only 16 years old. Though information about William Featherston is scarce, it is believed that he sent the text to his aunt, Mrs. E. Featherston Wilson, living in Los Angeles, who in turn encouraged its publication. It's reported that the original copy of the poem in the author's boyish handwriting is still a cherished treasure in the family. Rather strangely, however, the hymn text appeared anonymously with a different tune in an English hymnal, the London Hymn Book, that was published in 1864. The composer, Dr. A.J. Gordon, who is a well-known evangelical pastor of the Clarendon Street Baptist Church of Boston, Massachusetts, discovered this anonymous hymn in the London Hymn Book in 1870 and was attracted to its text. For several years, Dr. Gordon had been working on assembling a new hymnal geared especially for Baptist congregations. And as he meditated on the anonymous English hymn one day, he became dissatisfied with its existing melody. And as he later said, in a moment of inspiration, a beautiful new air sang itself to me. Well, the hymn in its present form first appeared in the hymnal, The Service of Song for Baptist Churches, compiled by S.L. Caldwell and A.J. Gordon, published in 1876. The hymn has been included in nearly every evangelical hymnal that has been published to the present time. Dr. Gordon is also composer for the rather well-known gospel song, In Tenderness He Sought Me. Adoniram Judson Gordon, A.J. Gordon, was born in New Hampton, New Hampshire on April the 19th in 1836. He was named for the famed pioneer Baptist missionary to India, Burma. He died on February the 2nd, 1895 in Boston after a life of unsurpassed usefulness to his fellow man and devotion to his Lord. After graduation from the Newton Theological Seminary, Gordon was ordained to the Baptist ministry in 1863, and 6 years later was called to pastor the prestigious Clarendon Street Baptist Church of Boston. He became a very close friend of D.L. Moody and was of great assistance in Moody's evangelistic efforts in Boston. Gordon's literary accomplishments included the editing of the hymnal, The Service Song for Baptist Churches, and the Vestry Hymn and Tune Book. He was also editor of a monthly periodical called The Watchword, as well as author of a series of books called Quiet Talks. And studying the backgrounds behind our enduring hymns, such as My Jesus, I Love Thee, one never ceases to marvel at the workings of God in bringing together the necessary circumstances that make possible the birth and preservation of expressions such as these. Believers in every congregation and culture can employ in their praise and adoration of the Almighty these kind of songs. Let me read to you the verses of how it goes. I know you know it. Let me remind you. My Jesus, I love Thee. I know Thou art mine. For Thee, all the follies of sin I resign. My gracious Redeemer, my Savior art Thou. If ever I loved Thee, my Jesus, 'tis now. I love Thee because Thou hast first loved me and purchased my pardon on Calvary's tree. I love Thee for wearing the thorns on Thy brow. If ever I loved Thee, my Jesus, 'tis now. I'll love Thee in life, I will love Thee in death, and praise Thee as long as Thou lendest me breath, and say when the death dew lies cold on my brow, if ever I loved Thee, my Jesus, 'tis now. In mansions of glory and endless delight, I'll ever adore Thee in heaven so bright. I'll sing with the glittering crown on my brow. If ever I loved Thee, my Jesus, 'tis now. one of my favorite songs, and one of the most clearest examples of what a hymn is, because it is literally a personal prayer put to music. Perfect example. All right, turn to your lesson that we started the last time we had class together. Lesson 1 of sight singing and ear training. We're talking about rhythm, talking about the pulse and the tempo. You were to read the notes to the student portion that I was given, and we went through a few of the sections here. You have to turn your book in the landscape position or simply unhinge them from your binder there to be able to see them well. But we want to not really pick up where we left off, but continue to move along through it so that we can move on to the next part of this study as well. And we want to look a little bit at some of the other exercises that are included with this. As always, what we do here in class is simply a way to get you started in the right direction, and then I provide you with these materials to give you something to work on your own. That in between, on your time, just like with any skill, practice it, develop it, hone it, and become a master of that skill. That's what these works and worksheets are for. Not so much that you memorize the work that is given here, or to just simply do it by rote or pattern, but that you are able to just randomly choose one and know how to be able to do the rhythm or the pulse of that particular exercise. Look with me at exercise 4, where it says ear training. Exercise 4, ear training. The paragraph says each student should learn how to make up their own kind of rhythmic patterns of 6 to 10 notes in length, similar to the patterns that we saw in exercise 3. If you flip back, you'll see that the Rhythmic Studies had a combination of half and whole notes, quarter and whole notes, eighth and quarter notes, and then 16th and eighth notes together, simply teaching you that what you want to focus on is the pulse note. Look above exercise 4 at that one line of exercises there, where it gives a pattern where the 16th note is the single pulse, and thus an eighth note would get 2 pulses. If you want to go through and clap these, you'll notice that it's not very smooth. It actually has a little bit of natural syncopation with it when you're going transferring back from a 16th to an eighth note. But if we establish the pulse as being like this, when we go through the 16th notes and the eighth notes, we'll notice that it will be sung like this. La 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 la. It's a little bit of syncopation, backbeats and offbeats and stuff like that. The key to doing that is just simply establishing what's the pulse of this song. Which note is the one that seems to be the most prime and the most common, and the one that seems to really carry the flow of the music. Back to exercise 4 under ear training. You saw similar patterns in exercise 3 as what we're going to kind of look at tonight in these lessons, and this will dictate patterns for the entire class. And what we want to do is we want to establish what is the pulse note first. Anytime you establish a drill, you want to establish the pulse note. Typically, the slower it is, the easier it is to comprehend, the easier it is to learn. So as we continue these, we'll try to do it at a very conservative pulse note. What number 1 and number 2 under exercise 4 are showing you is some helpful ways in establishing rhythmic dictation. These dashes are what you would kind of liken to the old-fashioned Morse code. That's not really used a whole lot today. If it's not, it's a very lost art because it's very important to use, especially in the military. I don't know if the military still uses it or not. I know they did when you were in the military, but I wonder if they still use it today. Do you reckon? I don't know if they do or not. I'll have to ask a soldier. I know a few.
They do teach it.
Well, how about that? So they did when you were in too, huh? Okay, great. So Morse code is still being used. Now, whenever you're doing Morse code, we all know that it's made up by dots and dashes, like short bursts and long bursts of sound. And that's typically what we're focusing on, that's rhythm. That's a pulse pattern that you have to learn to make sense of letters and whatnot to send a message. Look at number 1 under exercise 4 where it says horizontal strokes are used to indicate the sounds that are articulated. A longer stroke indicate a longer note value. So literally, when you see these, we're not talking about clapping the pulse. We're talking about how long you hold the note. So if you see a dash rather than an elongated line, we know that it's a longer note or shorter note. So it could be, depending on the pulse, something like this. La 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 la. So you know that the dashes are quicker than the longer lines that are given. But in number 2, whenever you go to make your own kind of a rhythmic pattern like this, in order to indicate how the pulse is to be clapped out, you would write the vertical lines underneath. Obviously, you would put the pulse given to each of the short dashes, and the longer lines, horizontal lines, would get 2 of the pulses, so that we understand that it will be clapped and intonated this way. La 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 la. Just like the exercises that we did last time. We know that there is a 1 pulse and a 2 pulse. And that helps us to determine the basic underlying rhythm of the song. Look at number 3. This is actually how the notes would be written out if you were doing them in a notation of eighth versus quarter, and if you're doing them in quarter note versus half note. It can work either way, it just depends on how fast you do it. La 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 la. Or you could go la 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 la. It's the exact same rhythm pattern, just depends on how fast you want to do it. So let's look at some rhythmic studies in exercise number 5. What I'd like for us to do is to go through each of these different scenarios and perform these rhythmic patterns and these pulse exercises as they're given here. Patterns that we're going to see in this section for lines 1, 2, 3, and 4, the half note gets the pulse. Now we want to establish a slower pulse to make it easier to comprehend. So let's set the tempo of the pulse note. A pulse like that is pretty easy to comprehend. It's not that difficult. We could go a lot faster, but we'll do nice and conservative, very easy. And if this is going to be the pulse, we want to intone or sing out, in other words, the notes that we see on the page. If we know that the half note gets 1 pulse, or 1 clap, in other words, that whole note is going to get how many claps or how many pulses? 2. So let's do number 1 together. Everybody clap the pulse with me. Nice and steady. Don't get too fast. Stay with me. And we're going to sing it on this pitch. La. That's where we're going to start. 1, 2, ready, go. La, la, la. Very simple. Every time you clap on a half note, you law. On the whole notes, you hold the law and get 2 claps out of that because you're given 2 pulses. Look at number 2. Same pitch. Let's do it together. Let's establish the pulse. 1, 2, ready, go. Number 2. La, 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 la. Look at number 3. Same pulse, same pitch. 1, 2, ready, go. La, 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 la. Off. And number 4. Same pitch, same pulse. 1, 2, ready, go. La, 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 la. Very good. Just sight read all 4 lines effectively by establishing an easy pulse, figuring out how the line of notes flow, and just making sense of it. Rhythmic studies are very easy. Now, what we could do under exercise number 5, the 3rd point says, instead of intoning the pattern, clap the pattern and intone the pulse instead. So reverse what you do with your mouth, what you do with your hands. For example, I'm going to try it. Line number 1. I try to make it fun for all of us. I don't practice these at home, because I don't want to, if you read the introduction, it says that you don't want to memorize these things. You want to just jump into it and cause it to further your ability. I want to learn better too. So I'm going to jump in and try number 1 and see how it goes. And this could be a disaster. So we're going to clap the pattern, but we're going to intone the pulse by saying beat, 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 beat. It's kind of different, but it works because it makes your brain work. It's kind of like doing that with your hands. Y'all working on that yet? Have you got that down yet? You still ain't got it? Oh, come on. Practice it. All right, let's do number 1 together. We're going to establish the pulse together. Beat, 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 beat. 1, 2, ready, go. Beat, 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 beat. Isn't that exciting? Let's do number 1 one more time. One more time. Remember.
Are you on the page 1?
No. Still A1.
Oh, no wonder. Oh.
Same ones we just did, but we're reversing hands and mouth. Yeah, sorry. I apologize for not clarifying. Let's try that again. You ready? Let's establish the beat together. Beat, 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 beat. 1, 2, ready, go. Beat, 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 off. Job! Isn't that cool? Hey, you can rotate them around and it just makes you think more and process it. Now, it sounds silly and it probably looks even dumber than it sounds in real life person. However, the reality is that the experts, they make these exercises because of what it progresses you to be able to understand and do. Not so much that you need to walk around and be able to go beat, beat, beat. Look at, we learned in music class, beat, beat. Yeah, well, I'm going to go there and learn me something too. Yeah, I understand people be like, so, yeah, just bear with me. Another thing you can do is you can tap the pulse with your right hand. Yeah. Tap the pulse with your right hand and do the notes with your left hand. Can you rub your head and pat your belly at the same time? Or pat your head and rub your belly? Most of the time I end up messing up my hair and making a big red stain on my belly instead. It usually doesn't work. It just don't work. Let's try that just for kicks and giggles. Let's try it. Everybody take your right hand, because most of it, is anybody here southpaw? Anybody southpaw? All right. Everybody good right-handed. Dominant. Good stuff. No boxers in here. Probably nobody knows what a southpaw in here. So let's establish the pulse with our right hand. We're going to do line number 2. So the first 2 notes, we already know they each get 2 pulses. Don't get too fast. Stay with me. There we go. Stay steady. Line number 2. 1, 2, ready, go. Very good. Now reverse. Let's do the pulse with our left hand. We're going to do line number 4. Line number 4. 1, 2, ready, go. Very good. Isn't that great? It's kind of neat how it helps you to develop a little bit. And I know it's challenging for some, and for others, you're just like, oh yeah, I got it. You know, it'll be all right. Now, as you look in subsection B, patterns, it's all about just establishing the pulse. The pulse is going to be something that you're going to feel and you're going to internally understand, and then you attribute it to the specific notes. Okay, pulse doesn't change note to note. It just, you have to establish what the pulse is and then understand that. So when we look at subsection B, we're using different notes. Instead of half and whole, we're looking at quarter and half. Obviously, the quarter note is going to be the one that gets the individual beat instead. Let's look at line number 1 under section B, and let's just do that together. We'll do the hand thing. Well, actually, mine are kind of stinging right now. Well, it'd hurt worse if I clapped, I guess, wouldn't it? All right, do the hand. Pulse with the right hand. Ready? 1, 2, ready, go. I'm sorry, I didn't tell you which line. Line number 1. Here's your pulse. 1, 2, ready, go. It's great. It's great. Now look at subsection C. Let's move on to that one. Let's see subsection C here, where the pulses are actually going to be focusing on the 8th notes. Okay? Now, we'll pick up the pace a little bit because it is an 8th note. We also understand that 8th notes are what we consider running notes, so they're going to move at a little swifter of a pace. So it's going to be more, we'll establish the pattern a little bit more rapid. Okay? Here's your pattern. Look at line number 1. Watch. Just keep the pulse with me. I'm going to do the actual notes. Just keep the pulse with me. 1, 2, ready, go. Okay? So let's try number 1 together. We'll slow it down just a little bit. We were here. Let's slow it down to here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, ready, go. Very good. See? It's all about establishing the pulse. It's fantastic how you guys pick up on that. And then we look at subsection D. Let's look at line number 2. Now we're dealing with the 16th note and the 8th note. La 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 la. That's line number 1 under subsection D. Look at number 2. La 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 la. Every 16th gets a pulse. The 8ths get 2 pulses. This is how you progress in getting faster with your recognition of the pulses. I recommend that you stick to doing exercises A and B, dealing with the half whole or the quarter whole relations, before you really get into the patterns where the 16th note is 1 pulse, okay? But you'll find that this is very helpful going back to section C when you establish the pulse of a song like Blessed Assurance when it is done in the proper meter of 9/8. Blessed assurance, Jesus is mine. Okay? So you establish the pulse. If you do it in 3/4, the pulse is totally wrong. Blessed assurance. It's all about understanding the proper pulse. When you see a lot of 8th and 16th notes, you know that that river is going to be flowing fast, not creeping by like the New River kind of does. It's not smooth and easy. It's going to have a more rapid pace. Blessed assurance, Jesus is mine. Okay? So use that to help you understand from now on, when I see a song and I see a majority of this kind of a note, I want to know that the pulse is going to be focusing on that. And I know that it's going to be a faster pace. And now this is going to relate to this. And it's all going to make more sense. And the more you work on these exercises, the more it's going to click and make sense in your mind. My hands can't stand doing any more of these works, so we're going to have to give them a rest a little bit and we'll do some talking instead because they tingle really bad. Look at exercise 6 in your worksheet there. Rhythmic Studies in 2 voices. One of the fun things that we can do is split off between guys and girls, ladies and men, and we can have the ladies we all clap the beat together, but ladies will intonate the notes on the top line, men will intonate the notes on the bottom line. The reason you want to do this in an exercise because it helps to reinforce looking at a typical grand staff in a song, looking at soprano, alto, tenor, and bass together, not getting confused as to which one you follow. That's the important part of this. So let's try it just for fun to perform the 2-part material of this exercise like it shows. We'll have half the class, which would be the ladies, to perform the top line, which will be on a C. Y'all hit that one? La! If I can hit it, you can, right? La! And fellas, you're going to be on an F. I'm just kidding, you go down here. La. 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 Okay, so guys, we're right here. La. Here's our pulse. Okay? We're going to do a pulse. Well, before we, I forget I even did that. Before we even sing them, let's at least get the pulse down correctly before we try to intonate them, okay? So we'll establish the pulse nice and easy because there are half notes and whole notes. Nice and easy. Ladies, this is what yours is going to sound like. Keep going. Very simple. Guys, because you're going to be on the F. La. La 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 la. Very easy. Let's give it a shot, trying it together. Guys, use your F one more time. Hum that, please. Ladies, hum this one, please. And help if I hum the right note. Be like Ernest T. Bass. Trying to tune in my gas can there. Jump in the fire. Fire too hot. Oh, wouldn't it be something? Could you imagine if Archie Watkins and Smokey Mallory Reunion got up on stage and they said, we'd like to sing one of our favorites from back in yonder times, dedicated to Ernest T. Bass. Jump in the fire. Fire too hot. I'd probably fall over. I wouldn't be able to breathe. Woo, I'd give an extra offer just for doing that. Pass the plate again. Oh, bless them. That's great. I definitely got her notes. Fellas. Ladies. All right, you ready? 1, 2, ready, go. La 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 la. Let's try it again. Huh? Lawing. I'm sorry. Lawing. Yes. Lawing. So ladies, you're at law. Guys, you're at law. 1, 2, ready, go. La 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 la. So make sure that ladies, you follow the top line. Guys, you follow the bottom line. Number 2, same pitch, different notes. Same pulse, same pitch. Pay attention to your notes. Ladies, la. Guys, la. 1, 2, number 2. La 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 la. Off. Good. Number 3, same pitch, different notes. Same pulse. Ladies, you're the top line. Men, you're the bottom line. 1, 2, ready, go. La 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 la. Good job. And then we it's always nice. So then you look at exercise B. Be a good one for you to practice on and work on. I left my watch at home, so I'm really not doing a good job of keeping track of time. Got just a few minutes left. Then what I would like for you to do is to look at exercise 7. I really don't want to confuse you and get into the patterns with the 16th notes or the pulse and la 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 la. We might have some smoke coming out of our ears at that point. So let's look at exercise 7 at the rhythmic cannons. Now the patterns that are given below will work as 2 voice cannons. Now a cannon is a compositional device in which one or more voice can delay their entries before imitating the first or the leading voice. In other words, it's called singing in a round. It's fun. It's kind of exciting. So we want to try to perform each one in unison. Everybody's going to be on the same note. Our two groups. So we've got ladies and men. Then with everybody divided, first group, ladies, is going to begin to sing. The second group will wait until the indicated number of pulses is given. Now, how many pulses do you see are given for the second group to wait? You have 1, 2, 3 dashes. So you see 3 dashes that will be given for you to pay attention until you start singing. Okay?
You ready to clap those still?
Might as well.
Is this row, 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 row?
No, but it's like it. Have you ever met anybody that can do row, row, row your boat in a round with themselves?
We used to do that in first, second, third grade.
With yourself?
Well, no.
Okay. It's one thing to do it in a round with somebody else, but I have met somebody that can do it in a round with themselves. I used to be able to do it one round. I used to be able to. I could still do the first half of it a little bit, like row, row, row your boat, row gently, row down, row the stream, your boat, and you keep going in that direction like that. Merrily, gently down. It gets really confusing after a while, but I have met a man that could do that. And I was like, wow. That's got to take a lot of time that you get absolutely no benefit out of, but that's cool. Just so happens he was a professional ventriloquist, so he got paid to do it. It was him, it was the dummy and him, or him and the dummy. I'm not sure which one the dummy was, but it was one of them. One of them was the dummy. And one of them got paid to be the smart one, and the other one just did what he was told to do. Whatever works. It's really scary when the ventriloquist gets told what to do by the dummy. That's an awkward situation. Never try that at home. So let's try to imitate what we hear and establish what we're listening for. First 3 notes, and the ladies are going to sing, and the men are going to join in together. Ladies, you're watching that first line. Let's do something easy, I'll say like middle C, where we can all match it together. La. Men, you're going to be up there. La. Ladies, you're going to be down there. La. Everybody there together. Ladies, here's how your pulse is going to start. We're going to imitate you. But here's how your pulse is going to be. Very simple. Okay? This is how the ladies are going to sound. And then we're going to join in, men. I'm not going to sing it for you because you're going to sight read it. Ladies, 1, 2, ready, go. La, la, la. Exercise that's actually part of exercise 7. The example, I'm sorry, I didn't go to number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 yet. I'm actually at the bottom of the left-hand side. Let's try it again.
Wait a minute.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry for the confusion. I did not specify. Middle C, one more time. La. Okay? Ladies will sing the top line that you see. You're the first group. Then after you go, la, 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 we're going to come in and go, la, 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 and go in behind. Okay? Ready? Here's your pulse. 1, 2, ladies, go. Okay? Look at line number 1. Second group is going to wait for 4 pulses, or basically when the ladies get to where that asterisk is above that quarter note in line number 1, and the 8th note is going to be the pulse note. Now we're on an F. I'll tell you what, if you're fixing to get those, let's say a little C. La, we're going to be at 1, 2, ladies, go. We come in, we start at the beginning after we give the ladies 4 pulses, okay? So when you hear, the ladies will go la 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 la, and then we start going la 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 la. Okay? 4 pulses, and we start at the very beginning. We start at the beginning. We don't start at the star. When the girls get to the star, we start at the beginning. Okay?
How we do 2 different notes?
Huh?
How do 2 different notes when you hear each other a little bit?
That's a good point. We'll stay on the C. Ladies, you go to that G. You got it? Sing it. Right there. Very good. Guys, you're still down here. La. Another one. You hear me, note, ladies? La. The G. Men. La. C. 1, 2, ladies, go. Now, how confusing was that? It makes it more better for you to distinguish, doesn't it? It does help. Okay. Huh? Okay. So there's some exercises for you to work on. If you've got multiple people in your family, perhaps that could like to gather around the dinner table. You can call Brother Jerry on the phone and help do it together. You can Skype somebody. Skype a missionary in Alaska. They'd love to hear from you, even if all you're doing is, watch this. Beep, 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 beep. They'll be like, college is paying off. Bless Brother Donnie. Yeah, now we see why he started that college program. Oh my. All right, so we're going to close her down right here. Next week, now obviously what you need to do is you need to keep these, work on these. If you don't understand them still yet after you've tried to work through them and read what the instructions are given with the work, ask me next week or the next time that you see me, and we will try to make better sense of it. Next time that we meet, we're going to begin to look at pitch association, learning how to, if we can get started on a single pitch, moving throughout the song as we see whether it goes up a note, up a third, a fourth, a fifth, or down, etc. Learn how to move accordingly with how the notes are. I'm going to introduce you to sight reading with singing. So we're going to maintain learning the pulse and the benefits of a good foundation of rhythm, begin to apply it in sight singing. Okay? All right, thank you so much for being with us. Thank you, everybody, for a great night, a great class. God bless you, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.